do I begin? Probably best to tell you a bit about myself, I suppose. My name is Reggie. I own a scrapyard that adjoins an abandoned industrial estate. I've always got by in my trade. People pay me to take their crappy old cars, appliances, computers, televisions, etc. Others pay me to cannibalise them for spare parts. An amicable arrangement. Suits everyone involved, and if I make a bit of extra cash on the side, then all the better. Life is sweet. I'm a simple man, with simple needs. Those needs were met. Wanted for nothing. I even built a garden area behind the yard, fenced off, unseen, unknown by the world. It gave me pleasure. It made me so proud that I could create something so beautiful in a place as desolate as this. Even had 2 Alsatians, Jerry and Trixie. House dogs. They also made for a good deterrent to anyone thinking of breaking in, and nobody ever did. My life was ideal. Until one day, a gang of kids, and I say a gang, I'm not really sure what constitutes a gang, to be honest. There were actually 4 of them. Late teens, early 20s, and they started hanging around. I could tell they were trouble from the off. Sitting around, drinking beers, shooting up. Yep, they were trouble, alright. Not worth the flesh they were printed on. When they weren't spaced out or drunk, they were destroying stuff for kicks. Drove my dogs crazy. Now don't get me wrong, I don't hate people, I'm just not a mixing it up kind of guy. Like my own company, don't bother with anyone, and they don't bother with me. But when people start messing with me, messing with my things, messing with my life, something has got to be done. It started with them throwing stones at the yard, busting car windows. I let it go, thinking they'll get bored, they'll move on. I was wrong. It escalated. Started throwing stones at my dogs. Wounded them. Evil little fuckers. That's when it became personal. See, like I say, I don't mix with people too well. My dogs are like my kids. And these vicious little bastards called the police. They weren't interested. Kids throwing stones at a scrapyard. Why would they be? I bought a gun, planned on using it too. Caught a little fuckers breaking into a yard. His mistake, really. I know this yard. Every car, every gap, every hiding place. Didn't get nice and cozy in a maze of derelict cars. And took him out with a baseball bat to the back of the skull. Killed him outright. Didn't mean to, but shit happens, right? I was sick to my stomach. Dropped the baseball bat, threw up on the ground beside me. I never so much as trapped a rat. I can't go down for this, I can't! It was an accident. I had to think. It's amazing how fast your mind works in an emergency. I quickly dragged him into the house, through to the bathroom. Stripped off his clothes and began running the water while I nipped out to the tool shed for a I returned to find the bath half full, so I turned off the tap with trembling hands. Picked up the hand and squeezed my eyes tightly shut, desperately trying to wish it all away. Everything had suddenly got so real. There was no turning back. I'd come this far, so all I could do was go on. Took a deep breath, gripped the handle tightly, and clenched my teeth together. I grabbed his arm with my left hand and began to steady it as I began sawing with my right hand into his shoulder. My stomach turned over, the first sight of blood, as the jagged teeth tore into the flesh. Almost like I was doing it to myself. Oh, The grind of the saw on bone was sickening. I hurled into the bath beside him. But I had to go on. There was no turning back now, gut-wrenching as it was. Blood poured from the open wound, diluted in the water around him. Next I gripped his hair and sawed off his head from the back of his neck, which strangely made him seem less human without a face to look at. But I was as sick as a dog as his esophagus. Made sick slurping, gurgling noises as it tore in two. After that it got easier with each limb I sawed off. I pulled the plug out of the bath and began to run the shower. Sadly the blood to water ratio had shifted in mass and needed cleaning before it stained. After all, I still have to shower here. I was left with the torso and assorted limbs. I took my meat knife and slit from groin to rib cage. I hollowed out the corpse of organs, washing away the blood with the shower head. I then began stripping the flesh from the bones with my knife. I just imagined I was stripping meat joints. It makes it a lot easier to bear. I then sawed up all the bones, cracking the ribs from the spine and sternum, stacking them up on the side of the bath. I loaded the joints and organs into 2 large plastic boxes. Took them downstairs to the kitchen, stacking them next to the meat grinder as I prepped it for the task ahead. Oh God, how did it come to this? I set up a 3rd plastic box to gather the mince as it fell, and proceeded to grind the flesh to mush. I gave the dogs a bone each and let them gnaw to their heart's content, while I loaded the mince boxes onto the wheelbarrow and took them to the garden area. And with a shovelful, I dug him into the earth, using the fork to thoroughly mix mince and mud to one. Nothing else he'll make good fertilizer, I joked to myself, in an effort to keep it together and get on with the job at hand. I sprayed the boxes out with my garden hose over the earth before loading them back onto the wheelbarrow. I've frozen the bones in the chest freezer, ready to pull out a few each day for Jerry and Trixie. The skull I'd boiled and sprayed with resin to make it look false. Figured I'd try and sell it on eBay. As a fragile collectible, I get about $50 for it by the time bidding stops. After all, money is money, and they owe me for damages and vet bills.